I'm going to tell you something right now that will make your skin crawl, something your parents are too scared to tell you and your friends are too delusional to realize. You think you're building a life. You think you're investing in people. You think that if you play by the rules and give your heart away, someone will be there to catch it when you're old and fragile. You are wrong. You are being lied to, and that lie is the reason you are so anxious, so tired, and so afraid of the future. I see you. I was you. About 40 years ago, we took a family trip to Lake Tahoe. It was a perfect August. I remember my youngest son found a wild duck with a broken wing on the shore. We nursed it for 2 weeks, kept it in an old wicker basket, and the kids brought it the best fish they could catch. I watched them and thought, this is it. This is true loyalty. This bird is ours now. I even started imagining taking it back to the city with us. But one morning, while the mist was still sitting on the water, that duck just took off. It didn't look back. It didn't say thank you. It just flew toward its own horizon, leaving the kids in tears and me in a state of deep confusion. Back then, I saw it as the ingratitude of nature. Only now do I realize it was my first lesson. You can feed, heal, and love, but you do not own a single living soul. We are just a station on their journey. When you're young, you fall into a very specific trap. You believe life is a ledger, a bank account of good deeds. You think to yourself, if I'm a good friend, they'll be there when I fall. If I sacrifice my time for the boss, I'll be rewarded. If I give my children everything, if I bleed for them, they'll hold my hand when I'm old and frail. It's a silent contract you write in your own head. You sign it, you seal it, but here's the tragedy. You're the only one who signed it. Nobody else agreed to those terms. You spend your youth building a fortress against loneliness. I remember the day my first son was born. I held him in my arms, so small, so fragile. I made a vow. I whispered it into his ear. I promised I would be his shield. But there was a second, darker vow, a selfish one. I thought, because I'm your shield today, you will one day be my cane. That was my first great mistake. A child is an arrow shot from a bow. You are the bow, and you do not get to hold the arrow forever. The same goes for love. You treat it like the stock market, and when the dividends don't pay out, your heart breaks. You call them traitors. You feel abandoned, but you did nothing wrong, you just had the wrong expectations. I lived this way for a very long time. I expected the world to be fair. I expected my children to orbit around me like planets around a sun. Then came the shift. It wasn't a sudden betrayal. In old age, the pain isn't an explosion. It's a slow, quiet fade. The kids grew up. They moved. They got jobs, spouses, kids of their own. The noise of my house slowly died out. The friends I thought were brothers stopped calling, they got busy, priorities shifted, some died, some just vanished into the fog. 15 years ago, my wife passed away, and suddenly, I wasn't the center of anyone's universe anymore. I became a chore, a Sunday phone call, a holiday visit, a box to check on a busy calendar. For the first 5 years, I was furious. I sat by the window, watching the driveway, thinking, I gave them my youth. Where are they? The silence felt like a personal attack. I felt cheated. My own anger was literally poisoning my final years. Then, one night, the illusion shattered. I realized it wasn't the people hurting me, it was the way I was looking at them. My kids weren't betraying me. They were just living their lives. And that is exactly what they should do. I'm a background character in their fast-paced stories. My suffering was self-created because my expectations were out of alignment with reality. Listen to the raspy voice of an 89-year-old ghost. If you want to be unbreakable, you must master these truths. First, love is a gift, not a transaction. Burn the ledger. If you give, give freely. The moment you expect gratitude, you turn love into commerce, and that currency always leads to bankruptcy. Second, accept that people do not belong to you. Not your spouse, not your friends, not your kids. They are wild birds. Don't build a cage out of obligation. Third, disappointment is just poorly managed expectations. The gap between what you expected and what happened is where the pain lives. Lower your expectations of others to zero and raise the ones for yourself to the maximum. Stop handing the keys to your happiness to someone else. I remember another evening on that same lake. We'd rented a big wooden boat. I was young, successful. I felt like I had the world by the throat. My kids were laughing on the deck, my wife was fixing dinner, and I was at the helm feeling like the captain of their lives. I thought, this is all mine. I bought this happiness, but then the engine died. Right in the middle of that glass still water, everything went silent. And in that silence, I felt a strange chill. I saw my kids looking not at me, but at the distant shoreline. My wife was staring at the sunset like I wasn't even there. In that moment, I felt that they were already gone. They were with me, but they didn't belong to me. I tried to restart the engine. I shouted I wanted their attention back. I couldn't stand the thought that I was just a tool providing their comfort, not a god they worshipped. It took 40 years to realize that the silence on that lake was the most honest moment of my life. It was whispering, Derek, enjoy this, but don't you dare think you own them. I didn't listen. I spent 3 more decades trying to be the captain of a ship that had already docked at another shore. Now, sitting in this chair, I've finally turned off the engine. Fourth, your own mind is your only lifelong companion. You are born alone, and you will die alone. The only permanent resident in your existence is the voice in your head. You surround yourself with noise because the silence terrifies you. Stop running. Learn to enjoy your own company. Make your mind a beautiful place to live because when you hit my age, you'll be spending a lot of time in there. If your mind is full of resentment, old age is a living hell. But if it's at peace, it's a beautiful sunset. My house is quiet tonight, but I'm no longer waiting by the window. And a miracle happened. The moment I stopped expecting everything became a beautiful surprise. When my daughter calls on a Tuesday, I don't think it's about time. I feel profound joy because I see it as a gift, not a debt. I'm free. Don't waste the next 50 years being a prisoner to other people's actions. Release them, forgive them for being human, and forgive yourself for being foolish. Open your hands. Let the sand fall through your fingers. Stop gripping so tightly. You'll be okay, I promise. Subscribe to this channel. Not for me, I'm an old man. I don't care about algorithms, but because you need a quiet anchor in a very loud world. Keep walking your path. Guard your peace. Expect nothing. Appreciate everything. Good night. Wait, I just remembered something else. It happened last Tuesday, and I think it's the real reason I'm at peace tonight. I was at the local grocery store, a rare expedition for an old dinosaur like me. I was standing in the produce aisle, overthinking the ripeness of a cantaloupe when I felt a tiny tug on my coat. I turned around, and there was this kid, maybe 5 years old, wearing a baseball cap 3 sizes too big and a shirt stained with what looked like grape juice. He didn't say a word at first. He just looked at me with those wide and blinking eyes, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a crumpled, half-peeled sticker of a superhero. One of those cheap ones you get from a vending machine. He pressed it into the palm of my hand and whispered, "This is for you, sir. It makes you brave." Then he just ran off to his mom near the cereal boxes. I stood there, frozen. I didn't know this boy. I hadn't done a single thing for him. I hadn't paid for his college. I haven't changed his diapers. I hadn't spent my best years working overtime to buy him a home. There was no ledger between us. No history. No debt. It was an act of pure, unadulterated grace. 10 years ago, a moment like that would have made me bitter. I would have thought, why does a stranger's child give me more courage than my own flesh and blood? I would have used that kid's kindness as a weapon to stab at my children's absence. I would have fed my resentment with it, but standing there by the melons, I realized something beautiful. I wasn't brave because of the sticker. I was brave because I didn't need him to give it to me. And because I didn't need it, I could actually receive it. We spend our lives trying to build monuments out of our children and our partners. We want them to be the evidence that our lives mattered. We hold on to them so tightly that we suffocate the very love we're trying to preserve. But the universe doesn't work that way. The universe is like that kid, it gives you what you need only when you stop demanding it as a right. I went home and stuck that superhero on my expensive, vintage leather wallet. It looks ridiculous. A $1,000 wallet with a 2-cent sticker. But every time I see it, I remember. I am not the abandoned father. I am not the lonely old man. I am just a soul who was given a gift by another soul. Simply because we happen to be in the same aisle at the same time. Love your kids, but let them go. Let them be strangers who happen to love you, rather than debtors who are failing to pay you back. Only when your hands are empty of should-haves and must-bests can they be filled with what is. Now, I'm going to turn out the lights. It's a beautiful night to be alone. Good night.